Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm going to be doing a January TBR of sorts. I had said to myself, oh no, I'm not doing a TBR this year, I'm just going to be picking on a whim, and if you know me and how many books I've got on my shelves, you'll know that maybe that's quite a daunting task. And then I decided that I wanted to have a bit of a spring clean, because what has been happening is I've got 3 big bookshelves around my room. One of them contains the books that I've read and kept, and also all my science fiction and fantasy unread books. The other one contains all my adult fiction books, and the other one contains all my young adult fiction books. And so when I get new books coming in, I put them onto those respective shelves once I've hauled them, and so then I know if I'm in the mood for a certain type of book where to go. However, because I've had quite a lot of books coming in, I've made quite a lot of TBRs for various things, and they then haven't finished reading all those TBRs but still want to keep the books out and together, I ended up with this massive pile on one side of the room, just on the floor, of all these books. And I felt for some reason that that was the pile I had to go to every time I wanted a new book. And consequently, this then meant that all the books that were on the shelves were just getting bypassed. I wasn't even bothering to look at all. And because the stack on the floor was smaller than obviously the cumulative amount of all my books, I found it less daunting to pick from. And you get the gist, I wasn't picking from my shelf. So what I did is I went through that big pile, I put them all onto their respective shelves, and I kept a few things out but put them on these little box shelves I've got down there. And so now that floor is clear, which means I can pick from the shelves each month. And as I was doing that, there was about 20 books that were in that pile that I was like, ah, yes, I really want to read that, that was hidden. So I've come up with a little pile for January to pick from. And I'm not going to be too strict, I probably won't get through all of them, but here, long story short, is the pile that I've picked up. I also want to be a little bit more on top of my arcs for this year. When I get an arc coming in, I want to read it the month before it's due, if I can, or at least the month that it is coming out, so that I can review it a few weeks before it's due to be released. So before I start talking about anything else, let's talk about the books that I need to read this month. Firstly, if you've been watching my channel, you know that me and Ange from Beyond the Pages are doing a Lonesome Dove read along over the next 2 months. We're reading about 100 pages a week, and then we're discussing this on our Goodreads group, and so far I've read you know, nearly the first section of this, so it's going well, and I'll keep you updated on that. And then myself and Caitlin had a slight, not break, but we allowed ourselves a bit longer for the last lot of welcome book prize books that we're talking about. I'll link the video I made about that up there so you can see the books that we're going to be reading. But we basically read one of the books off the shortlist and the winner of a backlist prize, so maybe 2014s or whatever, and we have a live show to discuss it. So the book that I need to read still is Inconvenient People, Lunacy, Liberty and the Mad Doctors in Victorian England by Sarah Wise, so I need to pick that up this month. And then the book that I'm listening to on audio, and I'm halfway through now, is Far from the Tree, Parents, Children and the Search for Identity by Andrew Solomon. This is a huge book. I'm listening to this on audio and it's really worth the time. I'm really enjoying this. It covers things like autism, deafness, dwarfism, and it looks at transgender, prodigies, disability. It looks at all sorts of things that might affect a family and affect the way that a child and a parent might interact and how they might feel. And it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I consider myself a very open person. I consider myself a nice person. I consider that, you know, I'm very happy to live and let live. And yet, even I have managed to pick things up from here and feel guilty for the way that I may have behaved or interacted or reacted to someone with who is different from myself. And so this has been really good and really informative, and it's written in a really readable style. So far I'm really enjoying this, but I do need to finish it. Then there's 3 books that are being released this month that I want to get to. The first is The Fandom by Anna Day. Now I've got a feeling that this might already be out. It says here now publishing January 18, but I don't know. I think it was published in October. Either way, I'm going to be reading this. It's a YA story, and from what I can gather, it's about a group of children who are in a fandom for a particular fandom, which is called The Gallows Dance, which is like a big movie, and they end up being dragged into the movie. I think that's what the basic premise is, so I'm looking forward to seeing how I like this one. And then the others I've got here are Lullaby by Layla Slimani. I was very kindly given this by Jen Campbell. She had a spare copy when we had a meet-up recently, and so I grabbed the chance at this one because it sounded really interesting. This is the story of a couple. The wife decides to go back to work. They look for a nanny for their 2 children. They find this nanny. She's perfect, she's wonderful, and then resentment and jealousy and various things kick in. So this looks really interesting. And then another one which comes out in January is called Shell by Paula Rawsthorne. This is a proof copy, and I believe this is the story about a new technology where you can have your whole consciousness and thoughts put into the body or into another body. So if your body gets a disease, or I think in this case our main character might have cancer, then you can be put into a new shell, so a new body. And the repercussions of that, and sort of I suppose how it makes you feel, and the ethical things behind that. So this is a YA, I think, so I'm looking forward to seeing what I think of this one. And the next is just an assortment of books that I have, as I say, picked up as I was going through my pile. The first is Bonfire by Kristen Ritter. I keep hearing lots of people talk about this. It's a thriller, and I've heard nothing but good things, so I'm gonna try and read this one this month. I read the first book in this series, The Moonlight Dreamers, and this is Tell It to the Moon by Siobhan Curran. I want to read the second one. I enjoyed the first one. It's a YA contemporary about a group of sort of misfits that have got together and formed a group together, and this is a continuation of that story. This one I've had on TBRs for ages and want to get to. It's Past Mortems by Carla Valentine. This is a non-fiction story about Carla's time working in a mortuary. I need to read this. I loved Bone Meal for Roses by Miranda Sherry. This is Black Dog Summer, also by her. I'm hoping it will also be a 5-star read because the first one was one of my favourite books of last year. Moondust by Gemma Fowler is a YA science fiction story. It's about this energy source that this company is mining from the moon, and it's about our main character maybe discovering that things aren't quite as she seems. You'll see the first book in this series in a TBR I'm doing because I will be taking part in the Winter Biannual Bibliothon, which runs from the 20th to the 26th of January, so I do have a separate TBR for that. The first book in this trilogy is in that, but these are the other 2 books in a series by an author called H.R. Moore. She's an independent author who sent me her books very kindly, so I will be getting to these this month. I'd like to get to the 2 books that were sent to me through the Page Habit Book Club. The first is Last Star Burning by Caitlin Sangster. This has got post-it notes that are sent to you by the author, and the other one is Haven by Mary Lindsay, and again post-it notes from the authors, which I think makes the story even more exciting. I really enjoyed Heather Demetrios writing last month, and so I picked up Bad Romance by her. I believe this is about an abusive relationship. This is a YA story. The next one I picked up is Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. This is a story of mental illness, I think, and about I think it's a family that get displaced after Hurricane Katrina and they have to move, and it's about our main character and I suppose dealing with teenage life. The next is a book called Starfish by Akemi Dawn Bowman. I've heard this is brilliant. It's about a girl, I believe she doesn't get into the university or the art school that she wants to, and so she goes on this sort of road trip or look at discovering where she does want to be and what she wants to do with her life. I wasn't a lover, as many people are, of this author's other work, Aristotle and Dante, but I did want to read this one. It's The Inexplicable Logic of My Life, and I want to give this one a try and see what I think. As always, I think this is going to take a good look at identities and families and sexuality, so I look forward to trying this one. Just 2 more. The first has been told to me as sort of Harry Potter-esque vibes, and this is a proof copy. It's Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is a middle grade, I think, and it's a story of a young person finding their sort of way in a magical world. And finally on my TBR is See How They Lie by Sue Wallman. This says that, this is set in a psychiatric unit, an elite wellness retreat, and our main character lives there because her father is a psychiatrist there. It's about how they monitor the residents and how daily life is, and when our main character is caught breaking the rules, perhaps she starts to reevaluate what is actually going on at the facility. So I think this might be a bit of a thriller. I've just taken a bit of a look at these, and I think there's quite a lot of YA in here, so I feel like on my Bookopoly board I might be filling up quite a lot of the YA squares this month, but that's okay. It will just push me to take a look at some other aspects later on, and also if something's YA but also science fiction, that will also fit into different categories. So at the end of the month I will wrap up which of these I've managed to read, if I've diverted from my TBR, and how Bookopoly is looking after month 1. Anyway, have you read any of these? What are your thoughts on them? Anywhere that you think I should start? Let's chat as always, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.